Good morning. Good morning. I'm Cynthia
Morning.
Thomas, President of the Gadsden City Council, and we're conducting our work session via teleconference. This meeting is being broadcast on Facebook Live and will be available on Channel 99, AT&T Universe, and the City of Gadsden's YouTube. Since City Hall is closed to the public, we're making our meetings accessible to the public as much as possible. As a reminder, the work session gives the council an opportunity to receive items on today's agenda, as well as any ordinance and resolutions that have been routed for the city council's consideration. These meetings are informal and no official actions are taken. And if you'll look at your agenda today, we have two agenda items. One is a resolution awarding bid number 3431 for our 2020 landscape maintenance to Proscape of Alabama and Company, and our city engineer explained this item last week. Will there be any questions today? Our next item is the resolution that's authorizing preliminary engineering and construction agreement for an A-Trip 2 project with the state of Alabama, and this is for the intersection improvement at Michigan Boulevard and Hood Avenue. Our city engineer also explained this resolution last week. Are there any questions? Several updates that we'll get at our council meeting. One will be from the EMA concerning our local situation in regard to the COVID-19. We'll have from Heath Williamson, our city engineer, regarding projects. And from Lisa Rossa, we'll have finance director will be concerning our city finance. Are there any questions or comments from the council members concerning today's agenda? So if you'll look at your pre-council file, we'll move to the items that have been routed to the mayor and forward to the council. The first resolution is authorize the amendment number 2 to agreement with the CDG engineer and associates. And this is for additional work required to assist with the right-of-way acquisition for the reconstruction of South 11th Street from Black Creek Parkway to the bridge at Black Creek.
Here, 100%. Let's make that happen.
Okay, in fact, can we get the city engineer to explain a little further about this project? We've been working on South 11th Street for a long time. It should be a beautiful thoroughfare.
I'm sure hoping so. When 759 came in and everybody turned South 11th Street into another Rainbow Drive, it wasn't ever designed to be that, but it needs it for sure. Tell us all about it, Heath.
All right, there we are. I think I'm connected now. So yes, ma'am, this certainly has been going on for a while as far as design phase. This right-of-way amendment is actually amendment number 2 for the right-of-way acquisition. This has already been approved by the council in an agreement with the state. It actually changes the agreement with the engineer to do the work. So they set the contract out the phases that are required to follow the federal process. It's pretty pricey, but it's because there's 15 tracks. And so it basically deals with all the appraisals required. It deals with all the negotiation phases, etc. There's quite a bit of red tape involved with that. This is an MPO project, so this is a 20% match, which we are certainly grateful for in these days. So anyway, here ALDOT also has to authorize this. The last they told me that would be authorized on May 1st, which will actually get the engineer to do the work. Essentially, they can't do that portion of work until it's authorized also. So this step, along with ALDOT's authorization, will allow it to move forward.
Okay. Are there any other questions from any councilman to Heath? All right, Mr. Williamson, if you'll stay on the panel with us, this is a resolution authorizing agreement with the state of Alabama, and this is for equipment upgrade, operation, and maintenance of roadway lighting on Alabama 1, 25, 74, 77, 211, and 759.
Yes, ma'am. This is AlDOT standard form to allow work within their right of way. This is actually dealing or was started with Alabama Powers to change the existing roadway lights on the Nakalula Road, the Highway 211 corridor that's covered here, LED. And so to do that work, it's actually a permit through us, and then they actually complete the work. The council has already approved that job to take place, which kicked in the need for Alabama Power to secure all necessary permits, et cetera. But thankfully, AlDOT went ahead and included every roadway. We have asked Alabama Power to, in the future, just go ahead and look at Highway 411, Highway 431, et cetera, on those state roads, as well as our city roads. And so while, if you remember, the first, project we did like this with Alabama Power was the downtown corridor. In my mind, that turned out well and went across Broad Street directly into East Gadsden. And so then this will continue the next phase as we move ahead. But hopefully you shouldn't have to approve one of these forms again. They've covered all the roads from the state.
Okay.
Madam President, can I ask Heath a question real quick?
Yes. Yes.
Backing up, Heath, to the South 11 corridor, do you have an updated timeline on when you think the majority of that project's going to be completed?
So the right-of-way phase is an unfortunately, and I'm not trying to evade your question, but the right-of-way phase is one of the biggest unknowns we have because we're dealing with individual property owners. I would say best case at this point, AlDOT likely won't authorize construction. So right-of-way has to be complete. Design is essentially complete. We're at the final steps of that and have been for some time. Once the next phases are in, which is the environmental phase and the right-of-way phase, they can release us to construction. I imagine that won't be until FY21 at this point because of how long the right-of-way takes. Worst case, if we get into some scenarios where we have some struggles to find that right-of-way and have to go through the legal process, that will prolong it even more. I'm watching it. Obviously, I looked back. We started this project with AlDOT about 4 years ago. Normally, they don't take this long, but when you have this level of basically a rebuild, we've dealt with utilities, right away here, we've got a lot of different factors at play that prolong the timeline. And so I'm concerned about the road itself. We're watching just to see. Obviously, we don't want to patch anything in advance of it if we don't have to, because of everything will get redone. The majority of that road will be excavated and rebuilt along the sections of failure that you see. So at best case, I would say you would see a contractor out there spring of 21. And that's, if we get ahead of that, fantastic. I don't anticipate it.
Well, listen, I'm just telling you this, if it stretches close to August or September of 21, I'm gonna be out there with a shovel myself digging that road up.
I would be happy to join you.
Are there any other?
Madam President.
Yes,
ma'am. May I ask Heath another question?
Yes.
On the right-of-way acquisition for 15 parcels or tracts of land, what is that? Is that for widening the road?
Yes, sir. Actually,
and if so, where is it?
It will. It's along the whole corridor. What we do, the right-of-way varies just a bit through there. We've got an enormous amount of utilities, which we do take into effect. But again, we're just looking at roadway. The primary reason, and we gave the road a little bit of a diet through there to try to maximize the amount of right-of-way that we had without going through acquisition phases. But what occurred in accordance with our bike and pedestrian plan, it required us to build an 8-foot sidewalk, which will accommodate both bicycles and pedestrians along that corridor, which is great for the long term, but it does require a little more right-of-way to do that, only by a couple of feet. But by the time you take into account the tieback grades and the utilities, it required us to get right-of-way. We brought the road into a standard 12-foot lane situation, and then have to build the sidewalk beside it, and that got us. We couldn't get around it, and otherwise, to use these federal funds through the MPO, you have to comply with that plan, and so it required additional right-of-way to do that.
I understand. Thank you, Heath.
Yes, sir.
I have a question, Madam President.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, it's changing the subject a little bit. Could you explain to the people the work that was performed right there at 12th and Megan, right there by the Aracola Shopping Center, Old American Shopping Center.
Yes, sir. From an outside viewpoint, that was, of course, all of Nakalula Road / 12th Street, 211, all the same road is getting resurfaced now by Aldite. That is a Department of Transportation project. In the course of that project, the Gadsden Waterworks and Sewer Board, to my knowledge, again, I'm an outside party to this, but from what I know, they found some work that needed to be done on their utility. And so rather than allow the paving to go forward, they reached out to Aldite. Aldite certainly agreed. And so there was some, I don't know if it was water main. I know it was sanitary sewer main work that was completed in advance of paving coming through. And so that should be wrapping up, and then you'll see the paving completed. That project will be done.
Because what I was getting at was, will it alleviate some of the flooding that right there on 11th Street, there on North 11th by the old Marvin's?
No, sir. So what they were working on was either domestic water or sanitary sewer. It will not alleviate any flooding. I have not seen Aldite's plans for that. They may or may not have included anything to alleviate the flooding. I can check into it. I know where those inlets are, where the structures go across. Normally, sometimes they'll, well, it's up to them. Because I hadn't seen the plans, they may have included it or not, but I'll be happy to check.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have the next, we have a resolution and we have an ordinance. And the resolution is authorizing acceptance of an LEA grant, a Homeland Security Grant Program for the purpose of conducting exercises, receiving training, or purchase of equipment for the Coach Bend Volunteer Fire Department, Altoona Fire Department, and Ball Play No. 1 Fire Department. And the ordinance is amending our budget for 2020 general fund, and this relates to the grant in the amount of $89,258.21. And in place of Mrs. Gaither giving us an explanation, Ms. Rosser will give us an explanation concerning the resolution and the ordinance. Ms. Rosser.
Yes, ma'am. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so Deborah had asked me, and I think Deborah's on the line. Deborah, if you want to say something, but she had asked me to handle this for her. Of course, they are very busy during this time. This is 3 Homeland Security grants that we received from ALEA. They were effective actually back in November. And this has nothing to do with the city of Gadsden. This is, again, Coke Fire Department, the Altoona Fire Department, and Ball Play, which are volunteer fire departments. So this gets some needed equipment for them. This is basically just a pass-through from the city of Gadsden. So you have an ordinance to amend the budget and a resolution to approve. She would like to have these today as some of this equipment has already been purchased and we need to pay for it.
Okay. Are there any questions from council members?
I am on the line if you need to ask any questions. I guess one reason I should explain that we have it coming through us is I am the Homeland Security point of contact for all of Etowah County. So that's why it comes through our budget.
Okay. Are there any questions concerning this? Okay. We have about 10 minutes, and so to make our council meeting kind of exciting in our pre-council, I just received a memo, a statement from Mr. Harbinson. And so to let the council members know that there will be no grass cutting at all this summer. And the reason for there not being any grass cutting at all this summer is because we have about 50 part-time employees that are not working, they're laid off. And so he wanted this came to him from Mike Hilton at Public Works. He said he had spoken with the mayor, but he wanted the council members to know that there will be, especially on the new, they're going to continue to send out notices, but there will be no grass cutting this summer.
So Madam President, who's gonna be spraying the Roundup?
Councilman William, you're first.
So I just need to know who's gonna be spraying the Roundup. So if we're not cutting grass, then somebody needs to be spraying Roundup.
That's a good question, and that wasn't brought in about the Roundup.
Now you know that's a joke. I don't.
Oh yeah. Oh listen. Oh yeah. That's the reason why I brought this up. This is going to be quite interesting. They're going to still, like I said, send out notices. So the grass will be tall.
Is this only on nuisance lots?
Yes.
But they're going to continue to cut the right of way.
Council President, Ms. Toles?
Yes.
I give up.
Councilman Worthy first, and then Councilman Cannon.
I was just saying that's on the nuisance lots, but they will continue to cut the right of ways.
Yeah, everybody is still responsible for their lots, even the residents that don't cut their lots. They're still going to send them notices, but this is on the nuisance lots.
Yes, because you can imagine, I'm already getting calls on grass. So
well,
just where it's at. So I'm glad you put that information out there.
Yeah, so unless
just
the council members want to ride the lawnmowers or something like that, maybe Councilman William can take off and cut. I got an idea. Why don't we all just cut grass in our own district?
Well, let me ask you, that'd be fine. But let me ask you, I thought we had one crew cutting the whole city, so we don't have that one crew now.
No.
Okay.
They're at home drawing unemployment, and you all know about the stimulus, right?
Yeah.
So you know how much they're drawing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why they're at home. I even asked the question, could we hire somebody in these people places? Do you all think that that's a suggestion to have, or what about getting contractors?
Well, you know, I've always been for contractors, so
I'm just asking. I know Miss Russell might not agree. You know, money is not she told us last week not to be bringing up money items that we couldn't afford to pay for.
Well, guys, I'll say this. I don't know how it works for the municipalities, but I've had this conversation with a lot of different businesses. You know, as a small business owner, we had to lay some staff off, but when we received our PPP loan and were able to call those individuals back, if those individuals refuse to return to work, there's a checkbox that I fill out as a small business owner every week that verifies all their unemployment. And if they don't work all available hours, you just don't check the box and they don't get unemployment anymore. So this idea that people can just sit at home and draw unemployment despite their employers calling them back to work, I don't know if that's the way it works for the municipalities or not, but I know that's the way it works for private business. If they don't come back to work, you just don't verify their unemployment.
Councilman Cannon? Councilman Cannon, can you hear me?
I think, yes, I can hear you.
All right.
At one time, we had a number of grass people that used to come up here and put a list in. They wanted to cut grass for people. My suggestion is when they send out these letters from the building department about people needing to cut their grass, they send out that letter with it of all those people that's wanting to cut grass that came up here and said they wanted to. At one time, there was about 10 or 12 people on that list. And a lot of people say they can't find people to cut their grass. Well, on that list, you can find people. That would be another way of getting people in the hands of somebody who can cut their grass.
Well, I'm sure that there are quite a few solutions. Maybe back down to what Councilman Williams said. We have to buy a lot of Roundup.
We have a tractor. We have a tractor with a sprayer behind it that sprays Roundup out. And we also have a pickup truck that's got a big sprayer on it. So that shouldn't be any problem if that's why we have to go to it. That shouldn't be any
Yeah, well, you all
but,
just needed to know, so when your constituents call you about the grass, there's no grass cutting this summer.
Well, hey, do we have the attorney on the line anywhere? So I could ask them a question?
Is Mr. Roberts online?
Because I'm wondering if we could use some of our discretionary money to pay a contractor to go cut.
Or you gonna use your discretionary money?
That's what I'm saying, my discretionary money, yeah, for my district.
Oh, okay.
But I gotta see if it's legal.
Can we get the attorney online? And we have about 4 minutes left on this discussion, and then we'll take a break.
It's legal if he cuts in all 7 districts. You gotta pay for grass to be cut in all 7 districts for it to be legal.
All right, Mr.
Whatever,
Robert?
you pay for your own.
What's the question?
The question is, since we don't have anybody to cut grass this summer, the nuisance lots. So could we, when we talked about contractors, could we not use discretionary money to pay a contractor to cut the nuisance lots?
Well, it'd be in your district, and we'd have to look under the rules. Don't the rules of discretionary money indicate it has to be a nonprofit?
Yes.
Yes.
And the citywide benefit.
Mm-hmm.
No, I would doubt you could.
Well, you said we can't give it to a nonprofit to do it?
Well, maybe. I mean, we'd have to look at that. And I don't
could you look at that for us and see?
Hey, Lee.
Yeah.
Lee, wouldn't that nonprofit have to cut in all 7 districts?
What are you out of money?
Oh, I didn't say I was gonna give my money to cut grass.
This is me for District 3. I'm not worried about them. This is District 3.
That's right.
Like I said, I'd have to look at that.
Would you please do that for me?
Yeah, for the record, all of my money has gone to COVID-related response issues. I'm not spending my money on cutting grass. That's just me.
Well, please look for me, please, because that's the calls I'm getting right now. Thank you.
Hey, real quick, just for the record, while we're talking about discretionary funding, I just want to make a very clear point that the Chamber of Commerce has been doing an unbelievable job supporting the businesses in this community, having webinars every single day, having coaching sessions, helping people through. And I think it's really bad that some members of this council refuse to support that Chamber of Commerce. And I think it's wrong. And I think they're earning their paycheck right now. They got 847 small businesses that are a member of that Chamber of Commerce. And I'm not going to name any names, but there's some people on this council that refuse to support that chamber. And I had to write a check for $3,700 out of my discretionary funds to help meet our commitment to that organization this year. And I want everybody to remember that when they're out there saving these small businesses left and right.
Councilman Williams, I would like to just tell you that, I spend my discretionary money any way I want to, give it to any organization I want to, and how I see fit, as long as I'm able to.
And as long as it's, this is just me. I personally spend my discretionary money completely detached from personal vendettas. I'll say that.
I don't have a vendetta against the Chamber of Commerce. I spend my money, my discretionary money, how I want to and how I feel it needs to help everybody in my district. And I take offense to you talking about these other people that didn't give money to the Chamber of Commerce, because it's their money and they can do what they want to with it.
And at this Councilman Cannon, we are in our pre-council session, and we'll take a break for 5 minutes and we'll start our council meeting. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hallelujah.
Good morning. I'm Cynthia Tolles, President of the Gadsden City Council. Again, we're meeting by teleconference Today's council meeting is being broadcast on Facebook Live and can be also viewed later on Council Comcast Channel 99, AT&T Uverse, and the City of Gadsden YouTube. This meeting of the Gadsden City Council will now come to order. The chair calls on City Clerk Alvin Nelson for the roll call.
Councilwoman Toles,
Here.
Councilman Williams,
Here.
Worthy,
Here.
Back,
Here.
Wilson,
Here.
Cannon,
Here.
and Reed.
Here.
We have a quorum present and our meeting is open for business. I'm going to ask President Toles to lead the invocation today.
As we compose our hearts this morning, we come to you, Heavenly Father, thanking you for this opportunity to be able to come together as a city council, Gadsden, to transact business. We pray that everything that we say and do will be done decent and in order. We pray for those that are suffering or those that are in a situation where they're having to say about loved ones, and we just pray for those that are sick, those that are shut in, and we pray for our government. We pray for those that are in authority over us, and we just pray, Heavenly Father, that things will continually to get better, and we will get better as a people. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 At this time, I'm going to call on the EMA Director, Deborah Gaither, to provide an update on COVID-19. Y'all hear Hammer?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let me do a little bit of adjusting here. Okay. Just a few things to announce this morning. We did receive notice this morning that our application for COVID-related response has been approved. So we will be filing worksheets to get reimbursement on those. That'll be up to 95% reimbursement. So some of the projects that the police department, fire department, even housekeeping, us, others throughout the city can now begin to do project worksheets so that we can do claims and recoup some of those funds that we've spent on the COVID response. So we thought that was a good way to start the morning when we got that this morning. I want to say too, the second is the ambulance is complete, and I want to say thank you, Gadsden Fleet. That was a big task, a big job. They came together, learned a lot really quick about putting the ambulance together and completed that in a short amount of time, and we just really appreciate them and wanted to tip our hats to them this morning. We have asked all departments and city entities to send us their surge planning by this Wednesday to our EMA at City of Gadsden email. And surge planning for us means how your department plans to proceed for the next 6 to 9 months. What will those needs be? What are we going to have to look at as resources for the next 6 to 9 months to keep our employees safe and our citizens safe? So I ask all department heads, if they will, to send us that. It doesn't have to be an extravagant plan. It just simply has to be what their goal is, what objectives they need to meet within that 6 to 9 months, and then what resources they would have to do that. So we need that by Wednesday, close of business from city partners. And this is just so we can help each other through these next 6 to 9 months, since we believe that we're going to have to do some planning. Now, from what we've just heard from the governor, public health believes that there'll no longer be a surge of virus spread, but we still need to plan for even minimal actions, because now we're all running low on supplies and we need to restock what we did have, and make sure that we've got all that in place. They're also saying right now that the governor is stating that the numbers have somewhat stabilized, which is a good thing. Wanting to get small businesses back into operations, which is also a wonderful thing. Pay for at home order is still in place, but with 6-foot social distancing. And here's another one they've just sent me. Reversing many of the previous health orders is going to be in place today. Businesses will open at 50% capacity on May the 1st. Still, social distancing in groups of 10 plus more gatherings are discouraged. So it's still going to say 10 or less, social distancing, and we hope to open up businesses at 50% capacity on May 1st. So there's some good news for businesses. I also want to say kudos to Gadsden Fire, EMS, and Gadsden PD. They have done a great job at reporting daily and at working safely throughout this response. And I really, really do want to pat them on the back for a job well done in a hard situation when they're having to multitask so many different things. So just wanted to give them a thank you. We're still collecting some items for our healthcare and home services providers that are nonprofits. All of those drop-off locations are at McDonald's, all 6 throughout Etowah County, and then also here at the EMA at the front door at 4610 Airport Road. The items that we are needing for those nonprofits so that we can keep any of the virus from spreading at those locations are bleach, Lysol spray, rubbing alcohol, anything that disinfects. That's what we're needing. Kleenex, paper plates, napkins. We're utilizing those so that we're not reusing utensils. So those can all be dropped off at any of those locations. And one new thing that's come up today is we are planning a testing next week in East Gadsden.
Okay.
It's going to be near the health department. We don't know exactly which parking lot yet, so just listen for more information on that to follow. We're just in the process of working those details out today and tomorrow, but it should be probably next Thursday. So let's just keep that in mind, and we'll get the rest of that information out as quick as we can. But that'll be some testing in East Gadsden. I just want to remind everyone, social distancing, washing your hands as often as you can, disinfecting when and where you can. Those are all the important steps that we have to do. Just because we're opening back up doesn't mean that it goes away. So we still have to continue with our diligent efforts in social distancing and taking all the safety precautions that we can. So does anybody have any questions?
I have one, Ms. Gaither, about the testing. Is there a fee that will take place when they have to do the testing next Thursday?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay.
No fee for the East Gadsden testing.
Would it still be an age requirement?
That's other details that we're working out right now. We did have one several weeks ago at 12th Street Baptist Church, and that did cause some issues by just allowing a few people with a doctor's recommendation and those things. So that's some of those details we're talking about today.
Ms. Gaither, will it be the new test or the old test?
I'm not sure about that. That would be a health department question, but I'd be glad to ask it.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to know if you could find out for us.
Sure will.
Any other questions? You unmute yourself.
Yeah, I guess so. Yes, I have a question. Do you know when and if we'll start doing the antibodies test to see if people have had the virus before?
Well, I'll tell you what we have done for City Gadsden and Gadsden Fire, ourselves and a few other first responders. We have procured the antibody tests, and we are working on those to make sure that we're testing correctly. The ones that we have, we're using for first responders and healthcare providers. We think this helps us in planning also.
Exactly.
That was one reason that we received those, to do that, to make sure we were keeping everybody safe and for planning purposes.
Okay. And with this opening, are we requiring people to wear masks?
I don't think it'll be a requirement to wear a mask, but I don't think that it would hurt in a large group to wear a mask. Gloves probably more importantly, because we do, just like you've seen me do several times, we do this, we do this. So, gloves may be more important.
Yeah. Deborah, just to kind of support your response, the social distancing recommendations to include the hygiene practicing, the distance from other people, the distancing from other people, and masks are recommendations designed for individuals to take control over their own personal safety.
That's right.
So individuals need to remember that practicing those recommendations is a step towards the individual protecting themselves. And that's where it's most important. Outside of staying home, if you have to get out, it's recommended again that you exercise those personal safety steps.
And Councilman, we say this even during severe weather season, your personal safety is your responsibility. So yes, I think that's a good point that you gave there.
Any more questions to Ms. Gaither? All right, we thank you very much for the update.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll go back to our agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the work session and the council meeting that was held April the 21st.
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
All righty, President Tolles,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
Councilman Worthy,
Yes.
Councilman Back,
Yes.
Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Councilman Cannon,
Yes.
and Councilman Reed.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve minutes.
Our next item is the chair will entertain a motion to ratify payments of accounts for the week of April the 17th through the 23rd.
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Councilman Cannon,
Yes.
Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Councilman Back,
Yes.
Councilman Worthy,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Toles.
Yes.
Motion carries to ratify payment of the accounts.
Our next item, unfinished business, and we have none. We have a resolution. Our next item is a resolution awarding a bid number 3431 for 2020 Gadsden landscape maintenance. The city engineer has recommended awarding the bid to ProScape of Alabama and Company, and the amount is $47,226. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
So moved.
Is there any discussion? Clerk, will you take the vote?
Okay, I had two council members that moved at the
Second.
same time, but I didn't hear a second.
Second.
Okay, I've got a second now. All right. Councilwoman Toles.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilman Worthy.
Yes.
Councilman Back.
Yes.
Councilman Wilson.
Yes.
Councilman Cannon.
Yes.
And Councilman Reed.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt.
Our next item is a resolution authorizing agreement with the Alabama Department of Transportation. And this is a preliminary engineering and a construction agreement for the intersection improvement at US 278 and US 431 and Hood Avenue. The total estimated project is $917,000 and 100% funded by the Alabama Transportation Rehabilitation and Improvement Program Grant 2. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
So move.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilman Reed.
Yes.
Councilman Cannon.
Yes.
Councilman Wilson.
Yes.
Councilman Back.
Yes.
Councilman Worthy.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Toles.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt.
Is there any new business? And there was an item that we discussed concerning the grant. Councilman Reed, do you have that grant available and the ordinance available? The EMA
Yes.
or Ms. Gaither and them were asking if we would bring that up today. So I didn't assign anybody, but I was asking you if you would bring that up today.
That'll be fine. Ask for unanimous consent to consider Resolution 239 is authorizing acceptance of a grant from the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, ALEA.
Second.
Ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilwoman Toles.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilman Worthy.
Yes.
Councilman Back.
Yes.
Councilman Wilson.
Yes.
Councilman Cannon.
Yes.
And Councilman Reed.
Yes.
We have unanimous consent for immediate consideration.
I move to adopt.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilman Reed.
Yes.
Councilman Cannon.
Yes.
Councilman Wilson.
Yes.
Councilman Back.
Yes.
Councilman Worthy.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Toles.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt.
Okay, I have one more. It's an ordinance amending fiscal year 2020 general fund budget. Ask for unanimous consent to consider.
Second.
Is there a discussion on that?
Yes, ma'am. After I move to adopt, I'll
All
do
right.
discussion on it.
I believe it
Alrighty,
has
this
been.
is the vote for granting unanimous consent for immediate consideration today. Councilwoman Toles.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilman Worthy.
Yes.
Councilman Back.
Yes.
Councilman Wilson.
Yes.
Councilman Cannon.
Yes.
And Councilman Reed.
Yes.
All right, unanimous consent has been granted.
And now move to adopt.
Second.
Just move.
Clerk, will you
Okay, on
take the vote?
discussion,
We've already voted, haven't we?
No, we're fixing to vote
For
on it.
consideration, so.
I move to
you
adopt.
wanna discuss it first?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. This is a pass-through grant of money, for the Alabama law, from the law enforcement agency, ALEA, of the Homeland Security Grant Program, for the purposes of conducting exercises, receiving training, and personal equipment for the Coach Bend Volunteer Fire Department, Altoona Volunteer Fire Department, and Ball Play Number 1 Volunteer Fire Department. So that was a pass-through grant through us to the 3MA.
Okay. Clerk, will you take the vote?
Councilman Reed,
Yes.
Councilman Cannon,
Yes.
Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Councilman Back,
Yes.
Councilman Worthy,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Toles.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt.
Okay, at this time, we will have some committee reports. In fact, we're asking our city engineer, it was brought up last week about the various projects. So, Mr. Williamson is available to give us an update on the projects that you're on now, Mr. Williamson.
There. Hello again. All right, so I've got an update on projects. What I did is detail projects, I'd say primary projects we have in construction, as well as primary projects that we have in design. And of course, any questions you guys have, I'll be happy to answer in more detail. I'll just kind of gloss over the top. And so current primary projects in construction, we have our 6th Street resurfacing project. It is near completion. We also have our CDBG Street resurfacing project. It is also near completion. We have a roadway patching project that's been ongoing as well at Highland Avenue, Thomas Drive, and Spurline Drive. It's progressing well. They've finished, I believe, 2 of the 3 streets, and so it's getting there as well. Of course, South 11th Street wide and resurfacing project, part of the high school from Black Creek Parkway down to Piedmont, is continuing in construction. Air Depot sprinkler head replacement project is in construction. If you'll recall, there was a railroad derailment project on North 34th Street. That is actually still going. It is, I'd say, substantially complete. We have the wearing service to go, but all the major repairs are done. Murphy Stadium drainage repair is substantially complete with fencing and asphalt replacement left, but everything is functional for quite some time through these major rains, which is great. The amphitheater drainage repair project was recently completed. East Gadsden Community Center project is in construction and going well. The Raymond Hill Community Center roof replacement project is scheduled to begin by mid-May. Contractor's got everything he needs in place, and he is looking to mobilize in. And so I guess before I proceed to design, is there any questions on any of those in construction that you have?
Hey Heath, this is not on the construction, but it's on the 32nd Street right there where the railroad track crosses over, right next to where the football, they play flag football and stuff. There was a train that derailed right there, a box car, and it's been there for maybe a month now. Over on that side, I've been getting some calls about some kids going around playing on that.
Okay.
I don't know what the time frame of that is supposed to be able to get those cars off the ground like that. It's leaning over sideways.
And I'm not sure as well. I'll be happy to check on it just to see if I can get any information from those guys.
Heath, this is Ben. I've got a couple. You got just a minute?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to find out if we're going to finish Highland Avenue, you know, where we deep patched it and built it back.
So that would be
the other.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, just the Highland Avenue, so what we did is basically fix the major failure spot. Any additional repairs would be a future project. They completed their scope on that one, minus some hydroseeding that'll stabilize the bank. But as far as an overlay for the entire area or additional guardrail or what have you, that would be in a future project. So that's up for discussion in planning.
That's a small thing, but when you go over that coming down, you'll hit a bump there. It's kind of like hitting a curb. They never didn't finish that. They didn't match the pavement. So what they did is about 2 or 3 inches lower than the height of this street. I appreciate if you look into that anyway. The next
Yes, sir,
question
and
I
I
got
have.
is,
Right, I have.
Okay.
It's actually, there was just some deformation there. Could be a little bit of leveling. It's a minor repair. The actual structure that we repaired is good. You'll have just an uniform surface across the total roadway. Had to tie in. That's the reason you feel the little bump. But it's, as far as stable, it's stable. But we could still get them to dress up the end just to the bump a little bit.
that'd be great. Listen, the people are kind of anxious up on Knockalill Road. I know the state is paving from I-59 all the way across the mountain down to Megan Boulevard. Do you have anything or any knowledge or report on how that's going to come back? We milled it all now. Do you have any knowledge of when they might start paving?
Unfortunately, I do not. I would direct any questions to the local Aldott District office. They've got their inspectors on it full time. I know it will be in their best interest. Obviously, once they get it milled out, it's general practice to go ahead and put the final surface on relatively quickly. I don't know of anything holding it up or what their actual timeline is. They have weather restrictions as we do, and so anytime it rains or it's a certain temperature, if it's too cool, it will keep them from doing it. Of course, as we've had some beautiful weather, I'm not sure what the holdup is on that. So we just have to verify and see if we can get an update.
Okay, Heath, I know I'm taking a lot of time, but please pass something on to the state engineer. When you're coming up Knockalill Road, just before you get to Harts Avenue, there's been an underwater spring right there for years. And every time they pave over it, it busts, and then it goes again.
Yes.
So please ask them to fix that before they pave. They milled right over it the other day.
Right.
I'm getting these questions, and that's my last one, but please pass that on about the spring under the pavement before you get to Harts Avenue.
All right, Heath, there's other projects.
I have one question about resurfacing, please.
All right.
All right.
On Penny Street, do you know if the water company is finished so they can pave there yet?
To my knowledge, they did complete the water main replacement that they wanted to do, but they also want to replace their sanitary sewer. And so without stepping out of bounds, because I'm not driving their project, it's my understanding that the contractor that is making the repairs on 12th Street at the base near Megan will be the same contractor that will make their repairs on Penny Street. And so I'm told it's next on their list as soon as they wrap up that project. So hopefully shortly. I know those folks have been very patient for a bad road. So we'll be along shortly as soon as they complete that repair.
All right.
That's
Thank
actually the last project. That's the last street on that project.
Thank you.
Yes. Ready for the design projects? Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got several in design. Some we've already talked about today. The South 11th Reconstruction Project, which would go from Black Creek Parkway to the bridge over Black Creek. That's the right-of-way additions that we'll have up for consideration at next council meeting. We have the Highway 431 Hood Avenue intersection improvements that were discussed, the A-Trip 2 grant. Aldot's actually designing that in-house. We've got the East Chestnut George Wallace Drive intersection improvements underway. That's just got some permitting left. It's nearly done. We have the new roadway from the venue to the boat launch at Coosa Landing. That design is nearly complete as well. We have some minor temporary easements that I'll bring you for that one. We have the Gadsden Sports Park at Gadsden State Community College. We're still designing that. You'll have one additional design phase to come before you. The other, as far as the design team, is going full bore. And so we said, go ahead and let's finish design and see where we're at. We'll get the estimates in place to be able to plan appropriately. We have the Alabama City Center parking lot improvements and additions. This is where transportation and the police department, portions of the police department are operating out of. Will improve the front parking lot as well as build new parking lots in the rear for the trolleys and some of the workers there. That's an FTA grant. And so that one is nearly complete. We've been authorized to let that one for bids. And then finally, the sidewalk improvements in East Gadsden. That's another grant received by Aldott through the Transportation Alternative Program. We've been authorized to go ahead and let that one for bids as well. So several on the horizon. We're trying our best to take advantage of grant funds, of nice matching funds that we have through various agencies. And so anyway, I'll entertain any questions you have.
Hey, Heath, on that Alabama City Center project, have we gotten any more grants or anything we might could put some storage up to keep those vehicles out of the weather or anything there?
Actually, as a part of the actual improvements that we made to the building, the trolley's up next to it, and I'll have to show you a final design when we're in a place where I can do that. But there's actually a large canopy structure that will cover those trolleys, the ones in service every day. And then we've got I guess the bottom end of the parking lot to house the ones that aren't in service but are on site. And so we will have some available. It'll be lit up. We've got it designed for appropriate lighting, eyes up for those vehicles. So there is some, yes.
Okay, but not enough for all of them, is that correct? Right
We're
now?
not covering the entire parking lot. We're covering the bays up next to the building itself.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Councilman?
Yeah, can we find out if we have any grant money anywhere to fix the lights on Tuscaloosa Avenue?
I'm not aware of grant funds for that. I'll have to defer to some other departments to see if there's any that would be applicable to that, or that would open up an opportunity. I'll be happy to check.
And let me ask you this: have we talked with the company that installed those lights about going down there fixing them since they messed them up?
I believe the time lapse has been. I'll have to look back at my file. We've looked at a couple scenarios, but I'll need to check into it. Because
if my thinking is, why will we continue doing business with that company, and they messed up those lights? And I know we could find another company to do work for the city besides this one company.
Yeah, we have that. I need to discuss that with legal department. There's some options there, but we certainly need to take the correct appropriate path.
Because those lights been out for over 2 years now. It's time to get them fixed one way or the other. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Madam President, I have a question, please.
All right.
Heath, I've seen, it looks like some stump removal work on Rainbow Drive. Can you talk about that?
Yes, sir. There's collaboration between a couple of departments, so that is in-house. Public Works has removed the stumps, and behind them, they're doing grading work, and behind them, our landscaping crews that work under Park and Rec Department are coming back to finish that up. Now, obviously, between the weather and the rain, et cetera, it slows that process down. Our intent right now is to get that to a good mobile state, a good stand of grass. So you'll basically just see a grass median when we're done, not the mess that's there in between. So we can look at further landscaping as the council and the mayor desire down the road. But right now, we're going to get it to an easy state of good maintenance.
All right, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
I have a question on that, even though that's not my district, but I've gotten some calls. Do the state reimburse us anything, or do we have an agreement with them?
So we have a landscape maintenance agreement, similar in context to the one that you guys will be considering for the roadway lights. With that, any landscape maintenance, anything that we take out, et cetera, the cost is borne by us. So no, sir, there won't be any reimbursement for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Heath, one question about Albert Raines Boulevard I'm getting questions on. How about the roses, the Gregerson roses that are in a big, long row down there? Are we going to take those up, or are we going to leave them?
To my knowledge, the ones that are there today will remain there until we do a larger project. I've not met with the landscaper to discuss anything in further detail until we get into a larger project. But as I came to work today, I passed them and they were there. So to my knowledge, they are not planning on removing them at this time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Heath, do you have any other projects?
We've got a lot of little minor ones that I don't want to take your time to go through. There's always drainage projects, et cetera. So that's the primary ones. And of course, if you guys have any questions in the meantime, feel free. And I think you all know this. Call me. I'll be happy to fill you in to get something on my list to see what we need to do, et cetera. So just let me know.
Any questions from any other councilman to Heath?
No, Madam President, I guess
Yeah.
I'll, at the risk of speaking for Heath, I'll just say that we really need would like people to understand the balance that he's trying to strike as he moves forward with many of these projects. Of course, we're having, as you know, we're having to manage our finances very delicately in light of everything that we're considering. We're pursuing replacement money for the lost revenues. We've got pre-existing commitments for projects, and it's really not clear whether or not we'll be able to move forward in terms of being able to have monies to fund a lot of those projects. So what he's really trying to do is just balance the ability and I guess the political will to move forward with a lot of these projects, and at the same time being sensitive to our budgetary issues, and of course manage the emotional issues of people really viewing this as a health crisis and really not caring about city projects to a large degree. So, you know, and I know it's not perfect. You're having to make it up as you go, Heath, but I appreciate all the work you're doing. And I hope we're supporting you adequately with what we do.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Very well put. That is a balance. And I am very sensitive to what's going on. It affects every one of us. At this point, we are, in essence, triaging projects. What's the problems? Where are the failures? What can't wait? What can wait a little bit? Either way, we're doing our best to utilize all of the grants that are still authorized, that I've touched base with the agencies. They say, yes, go ahead. And so we are going ahead with those, dealing internally with the mayor's office, with the finance department. But then until we know what's coming down the road, we're going to finish the designs, do our best to estimate in a time that it's hard to estimate what material is going to do, what's the cost of contract labor, et cetera. And so once we get those in place and we get a better idea down the road with all that's going on in our area, and I believe we will come together and we'll see how we want to roll these out in a good way for the public that makes sense to everybody, to the best that we can. That's our approach.
One more question to Heath. Have we, in the process of thinking about getting temporary easements for the project there at Glen Iris and Hillier, because that water is washing away the foundation of one of the houses that's right there.
So I've not seen it in a while. We'll need to look at or basically discuss with some other departments that have looked at that in-house. Since I did an initial assessment, we deferred that over to some of the maintenance guys. So we need to look and see where it's at. I think the county was even looking at some stuff. So not sure there, but yeah, we're definitely. So there's some back right away there, but it's never been improved, which makes it difficult to access. So anything outside of that, you're essentially draining the side of the mountain from Highland Avenue down. Not an easy area to get to, would certainly require easements to do anything. So we would just need to collaborate there and see what's been looked at, what it would require today to do it.
Please do. I know you're busy, but please, because thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Heath? Okay, Heath, we thank you very much. At this time, we'll have a report from our finance director, Ms. Rosser.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. I had asked Dr. Tolles if I could speak today, and I will talk some concerning the finances of the city. But let me start by saying that last week was a very difficult week for me, as it came to my attention that my name, as well as my character, was being assassinated by members of this council, employees, and some citizens, all because of a comment that I made last week. It is obvious that these people know very little about me. Even though this place has made me hard over the years, it is never my intent to be offensive. I went home on Friday and spent the weekend praying, fasting, and seeking guidance from the Lord. And actually, to be honest with you, I was seriously asking the Lord if it was time for me to say it's time to go. But the Lord did not tell me that. The Lord told me that I needed to get peace, but a peace that could not come until I say that I am sorry to those that I offended with my comments last week. and at this time, I hope and pray that you will accept my apologies. There is no doubt that I am in the Lord's will for my life, and I will never apologize for doing my job. I realize that I'm not a liked person, but it is my responsibility to advise this administration on financial matters so that we may make wise, educated decisions. For those that say I do not appreciate our emergency personnel, there again, you do not know me. I have an uncle that gave his life for 40 years as a fireman. My family has worked in many areas of the medical field, including my 2 children who live in other areas of the country that have been affected by COVID-19 much more than the city of Gadsden. My son had to put a man to sleep knowing that he had COVID-19, but that he needed surgery to be able to save his life. I pray for their protection, or the Lord's protection on their lives every day. This is a very difficult time for our nation, our state, and our city. Not only have we been impacted by COVID-19, but now we know that the Goodyear Tire and Rubber plant is facing closure. The impact of this closure on our city is around $2.5 million a year. During these difficult times, we must be united. It takes everyone doing their part. You see, without my employees, we would not get paid. Bills would not get paid. Revenue could not be collected. Without public work employees, streets and facilities could not be maintained. Grass would not be cut, and yes, we are cutting some grass. Storms could not be taken care of as far as down trees when they come. And let's please don't forget our transportation drivers, those that are still picking up our citizens, taking them to the doctor and dialysis. So to all of these and to all city employees, I say thank you. My pastor said on Sunday that with situations come opportunities, and I thank the Lord for the opportunity that he has given me to serve this great city. There are going to be difficult days ahead. All has to be made. So I pray that the Lord will give me the discernment and wisdom to advise this administration on making the right decisions to secure a financial future for this city. A U.S. Senator said last week that local governments can raise taxes or bankrupt. That is not an option for our city. Neither are those options. We will make it through this crisis. We're looking at numbers every day and are hoping that our March figures will still be positive. It's amazing because our occupation on our sales tax that was due by April the 20th, and I assure you, I'm looking at these every minute of the day. As you know, when closure took place, we had 14 days in March that basically our restaurants and retail stores and such were closed down. We're seeing decreases in automobile dealerships. They're all down. Our retail stores are down. Our restaurants are down. But it is amazing what we have seen in our grocery stores and Lowe's. We have a grocery store that their sales were up 74% in the 14 days of March that was shut down. So we're hoping, we are praying that March will end on a positive note. It is April taxes that will not be due until May the 20th that we are highly concerned about. So it will be the end of May before we know exactly how we have been impacted by COVID-19. I hope you know that I'm here to serve this community and to serve you. And if there's any questions that you need at any time or any way I can help, please feel free to ask me. Thank you and God bless.
Okay. At this time, Councilman Williams, you had an announcement.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. So did want to make people aware, and I was asked to make this announcement by the Personnel Department, that the civil service test has been rescheduled to June 24th, and the times are going to remain the same on those dates. The police will be at 8. The police test will be at 8:30, and the fire at 1:30. Really think that's important now because now more than ever, we really need citizens to step up as first responders. So again, we want to encourage people to come out and participate in that testing activity. The location will be the Downtown Civic Center. Please bear in mind that if you have concerns, social distancing recommendations will be followed and enforced. So as to make sure that we're in line with any orders that are in place at the moment. Reminders also as it relates to the applications, you can go to the City of Gadsden's website and print those applications. Those applications then, once printed and completed, will need to be mailed in to the city's personnel department. And after that, there are two ways that you can actually receive your study guide. You can get your study guide either via mail, so you can get it via snail mail if you don't opt for any other method, or an e-version of that study guide can be emailed to you. You simply have to call the personnel department and make them aware that you want to receive it via email and provide an email address. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of the change in the schedule and how that process will work.
Okay. Councilman Back.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to, first of all, thank Lisa Rosser for her heartfelt comments and for her work and her knowledge of the city finances. I find it very reassuring. I've met with Lisa probably 3 times in her office since I've been in office, and I always walk out of there knowing a lot more than when I walked in. So I think we're fortunate to have her in her position. She loves and cares for the city and the finances, and is a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of information. And I know that when she speaks about numbers, I perk up and I pay attention and I listen. So I want to say thanks to that. Just the obvious comments, just if I could, Madam President, with the impending closing of Goodyear. I mean, it's a sad day for Gadsden and Etowah County. Many years, many decades, many families have been well served, and they have served our community as those individual families. And for that, we're all thankful and grateful. The strong community support that those employees have been over the years, it's going to be hard to replace, but we will replace it. And there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. You read and see comments on social media. We have a really strong Industrial Development Authority staff. Bill Green are doing a really, really good job. There are a lot of things that are going on that have been going on for a number of years, even before David Hooks came to Gadsden, that the mayor's office has been doing. You just can't talk about those things in public. It's not allowed, and it's understood that you don't talk about them. A lot of people don't get that, and everybody wants to know, but you can't know everything. And so you just have to trust the elected officials and the people that are put in place that they're doing the right thing. And I can assure you that those things are taking place and they're being done. And I think, going forward, we have a chance to kind of cast a new vision for Gadsden, like a whole new future. I was reading some history when Goodyear came here. There's some articles that I've seen posted, and it was a whole new day for Etowah County and for Gadsden. I'd like to think that it's a whole new day for Gadsden and Etowah County now, but in a positive way. There's a lot of opportunity in our world today. It all involves around workforce training and being on the cusp of the new jobs that are out there. I mean, jobs that our children and grandchildren are going to haven't even been invented yet. Now's the time that we invest and we double down on our training. We have a wonderful resource in Gadsden State Community College. Those relationships are very solid. And I think Gadsden's future is very bright. It is a sad day, and it's not fun to have these conversations. It's not fun being an elected official when you hear your finance director say we're getting a $5 million cut on a $52 million budget. We all can do the math, and we know what that means. It means we're going to have to make some hard decisions in the very near future, but we're going to make those decisions, and we're going to do what's best for Gadsden, and we're going to make Gadsden the kind of city that we're all proud to be in and all proud to be a part of. So I guess that's my sermon on that, Madam President. Just one item in District 4 for housekeeping. There's been a rash of burglaries and break-ins in cars. Lock your cars, keep some outside lights on. I see in our neighborhood watch programs on Facebook, people talk about things happening. not everybody calls the police. I can promise you the police department wants you to call them if you see something that's out of the ordinary. Do not hesitate to call the police. That's what they're there for. They want you to call. And, just be diligent. Keep your eyes open and let the police know when you see something, because that's the only way we're going to get on the front side of this. And I've had a lot of calls lately on speeding. I don't know if it's because we're out of work and out of school, but Forestine Avenue, Lakewood, Country Club Drive, Wild Haven Circle, where I live, it's like a racetrack. Everybody needs to slow down. Nobody is that important that you need to be going 50 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. There's a lot of people out walking. There's a lot of children out riding bikes. Please, everybody, slow down. Slow your car down. Quit speeding in our neighborhoods. They're not built or designed for that kind of a speed. And it would be really terrible if something really tragic happened. And we've already seen that in our county just this past week. It's a terrible incident in Southside. And all of our prayers go out to that family. Pay attention to what you're doing and please slow down. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Councilman Worthy.
I don't have any comments.
Councilman Wilson. Councilman
Yes, ma'am. I just want to remind everybody, even though the governor is made the announcement that they're going to reopen retail stores, I just encourage all of y'all to please wear masks. Please still wear masks when you go into these retail locations. They're not just to protect yourself, but to prevent you from spreading, potentially spreading the virus as well. So I know that a lot of people are anxious to get back out. Just please wear a mask of any kind. It's a small, simple thing that you can do that actually makes a big difference for you and the people around you likewise. I also want to give my condolences in general to our neighboring city of Southside across the river there. They've just had a terrible week or so with some really impactful deaths in their community. Number one, Jerry Pullen. Mr. Pullen was my government and economics teacher at Southside High School. He was well into his 90s when he passed away and was literally the most influential teacher I've ever come in contact with in my life. So my condolences to his family. Also Trey Dowdy's family. I know he passed away unexpectedly from an accident, and it was tragic. And I know he was a pillar of that Southside community. And then just yesterday, a good friend of mine who is a lifetime Southside resident, Nicholas Drummond's. He's my age, 40 years old, passed away from a heart attack unexpectedly. So I just want to give my condolences to his family. He's got a beautiful wife and 2 young daughters that will have to deal with that tragedy now moving forward. So just in general, I want to put my arm around the shoulder of the city of Southside right now because that community is dealing with a lot. So that's all I have. Thank y'all.
Councilman Reed.
I'm just about it. I have about 2 pages of notes, but all of them have been pretty well covered. So as usual, I'll just say I don't know how that react, Derek, really. I want to basically say, really, y'all, in the next few months, we are going to have some hard decisions to make. Hopefully, and I think the public will go along with us. Trash, grass, ditch, whatever it might be. Please understand that we are really in a bind. And we'll be until, I think, June, July, somewhere along in there.
Yeah.
But I tell you another thing, we're making the hard decisions, and thank goodness for Lisa Rosser, because she can guide us. The main focus is going to be on the money. If you don't have money, you can't do anything. So she's a good steward of it. Whether you agreed with her in the past or not, we better all bound together right now and go forward. Madam President, I meant to ask Deborah Gaither, I know you got to wash your hands. I know you got to wear the mask. How in the world do you keep from touching your nose? That's really bothering me.
You put handcuffs
this time,
on.
I get about this far. You know, somebody needs to spray me. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Councilman Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Council President Toles. I'd just like to elaborate when everybody starts going out Friday to all these stores and stuff. Please be courteous and to the people that's working in the stores and the people that's there inside the stores. Don't break in front of them. Don't holler at the clerks. You know, it's not their fault that we're in this right now. If we just all seek the Lord's guidance, He'll guide us through this whole thing we're in right now, and He knows what the outcome's going to be more than any of us here. So my thought for the day is just trust in the Lord. He'll take care of us.
Okay. Councilman Williams, you said you had an announcement.
Yes, ma'am. And it's just more or less to take the opportunity to just provide a little bit of context for what most of us are referencing in terms of the governor's announcement. So as we alluded to in our work session, while we were meeting, the governor was actually conducting a press conference. And that press conference was to announce that the stay-at-home order would expire April 30th, and a new safer at-home order would be instituted May 1st. And that safer at-home order will be in place through the 15th and be reevaluated on the 15th. And so what that means essentially is something that I think a number of the council members have spoken to. Retail stores will be allowed to open up at 50% capacity. Elective medical procedures will be allowed to move forward. Beaches have been opened with social distancing restrictions in place. And childcare and hospitals and nursing homes will continue to have their strict rules, but they'll be allowed to remain open. But, you know, as we're talking about that, I think the reason I wanted to say something for the most part is we need to understand restaurants and bars are still a no. They're still drive-up only. So until we're told otherwise, restaurants and bars are no. Salons are no. And that includes barbershops, hair salons, nail salons, tattoo salons. They're all no at the moment. Churches, schools, entertainment venues, athletic facilities, and any other close contact services, they're all still a no. And so before people run with the new safer at home rule and say, oh, they just opened up the state, it's somewhat measured. Now, politically you can be where you want to be in terms of the governor, but I think, there's an opportunity for us to be smart about how we get back out. So be smart, take care of your own personal health, because that's what's most important in these very difficult times. You cannot depend on government to take care of your personal health. That's all I have.
If nothing else, I call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Council meeting is adjourned.